you, It's Two Girls, One Pod. It's the day where we have actually two girls. I'm a girl. I have another girl. Her name is Kirsty Webeck. Do you like being called a girl or do you like being called a woman?
You know what? Neither.
What do you like being called?
I don't like it. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I don't know, but neither of those resonate with me.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if we could.
Gender goes.
I guess so.
You've always been a she. To me, you've never told me any otherwise, but is there an otherwise?
No, see, I don't know. I honestly don't know, but recently I just clocked someone calling me a girl, a woman and a lady on 3 different occasions and I was like, whoa, or each time I was like,
yeah, you are not one of those.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't feel like that, but I'm also not like, I'm not attached to anything else. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I'm just I'm floating about, Yvie. I'm floating.
I love you. I'm catching you. Come down here. Sit with us.
Thank you.
You can sit with us.
Oh, I appreciate
and me.
that. Yeah.
Let's just get into it.
Yeah.
So what do you want to know about me? Okay, let's first talk about you and I, the way we met.
Yeah.
Because we've known each other now for a while.
Yeah, we have, which is weird.
Yeah, it is. It is. But we got each other through lockdown. Well, you got me through lockdown.
Yeah, I mean...
I'm just popping myself in that.
Yeah. I mean, you're a real thorn in my side, but... I love how you're like, we're a life raft for each other. And I'm like, I could not get you to stop messaging me.
I was trying to pull that oar in and you were clinging to the side
I
of the
changed
raft.
my number 4 times and you found it each and every time.
But we were there for each other, weren't we?
It's an unrivaled bond.
I had just found you on on Twitter. Right. I just found you and you have the funniest pinned tweet, which is...
Oh, my gosh. Am I meant to know it verbatim?
Yes, because I do.
I don't know it.
Don't you?
No.
It's such a good one.
Wait up. I think I know which one it is. I think it's, listen to me. I'm like, there's so many good ones, Yvie. Which one could it possibly be?
Which one could it be?
I know which one it is, but I don't know it verbatim.
Okay.
It's like, it's
something
quotes. It's like a guy, like my cousins are lesbian, maybe you know each other.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it doesn't work like that. We don't all know each other. And then he's like, her name's Claire. She lives in Brunswick. She's got a 3-legged cat called Trixie. And then I go, me walks away quietly so I don't have to tell him that we were engaged in 2013. So, I do know it verbatim.
You know it. It's exactly
playing hard to get.
Even down to the 3-legged cat called Trixie.
Okay.
So
I've been busted.
I when you read things or watch things on the internet and there's very rarely things, you find them funny, but you laugh out loud. They're the differences, you know those.
Yeah, sure.
That one made me laugh out loud. And then I was invited to a lunch by a wonderful woman called Nellie Thomas who would do these moles lunches because she calls all of her friends moles, which is f***ing adorable. And she said, come along to this one. It was an in-between lockdown, like very early on in the pandemic. And it's just packed everywhere. Like they had all these small sessions of eating. And we went to Yum Cha in South Dock, whatever it's called.
South Bank?
Yeah. South Bank. And you were just sitting there already. And the first thing I said to you, she said, this is Kirsty. Kirsty, I went, oh, you're funny. I think you're funny.
Like an attack?
Yeah.
Oh, you're funny. Yeah. Well, righto,
and
mate.
I've just started following you on Twitter, and then we sat at the table. I don't think we spoke all that much, but when we did, it was just about dogs.
Yeah. Which, to this day, I don't know anything else about you.
No, there's nothing else
there's
about
nothing
me.
Else. Me neither.
Spoiler alert. There's nothing else.
That's right. That's all we've discussed ever since.
And if we do talk about anything else about me, I don't want to do that.
Me neither. It upsets me.
You had just got Joan.
I had, yeah.
Wee baby.
Yeah, wee baby Joan. Baby Joan Webeck, little Pomeranian. She's now She's coming up to 3 this year. And she's still the apple of my eye. This is funny. You'll appreciate this. She had a minor injury this week.
Did she?
Yeah, she had a minor injury.
I'm glad you started with minor.
Yeah. So she was okay, but this is funny, and you'll relate to this. My partner Elle came home. It was one of those days where it had been torrentially raining, and there was a tiny break in the weather, and Elle took her out, and she just went running all up the bay in the mud and had the time of her life. But somehow on the way home, just across the road from our house, she tore her dew claw.
Oh, that's painful.
Yeah, so painful.
That's not minor, by the way.
But, well, I mean, my friend's a vet, and I got her on the phone immediately, and she put my mind at ease, and she was like, it's all going to be fine.
She said it was minor, but it's really not. You are underplaying.
My vet trained professional vet doctor vet friend is a liar.
Okay. So, dew claw, it wasn't pulled off or anything. It was just...
No, it was a little bit torn, but she came home and she had this she had blood all over her leg. And because they, it's like when we hurt a nail, they do bleed quite a bit because they've got a little blood vessel in them. But it also stopped quite quickly. And also she's got a little white furry leg, so it travelled all over. Anyway, I burst into tears.
I would too.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, my baby, like my second born.
Yeah.
She's my the cat's the firstborn. My second born is injured. And Elle, of course, my partner, is a nurse. So
Does she roll her eyes at you? Big time?
Yeah.
She does most of the time, but I can imagine that one would have been...
her eyes haven't recovered.
Yeah, they're still back there.
She was like, it's fine. And then she cleaned her up, and then she put a little wrap around it just so that she wouldn't, do anything with it overnight. And then the vet nurse the next day sorted it out in, I'm going to say 3 seconds. And literally walked her to the end of the hallway, disappeared around the corner and came back. Like they'd walked the catwalk, but pun intended. And meanwhile, I'd had this sleepless night, like this hysterical mother.
Oh, you are.
That's an exaggeration. I didn't have a sleepless night at all, but
she thought about it for 5 minutes, but it was a tough night.
Yeah, and I had a wet pillow from tears.
Just a little bit of drooling when you were deeply asleep.
A bit of drooling. Yeah, gee, that was a good sleep. Anyway, the point is, Joan's still around. Absolutely adore her. Her paw's on the mend. So,
Joni Webeck, I have had Pomeranian. Far out.
They're your favourite breed, so much so that you've got no idea how to say it.
I've had Pomeranians. So when we met that day, I said, do you want to do a dog walk? Because we found out we lived quite close to each other.
Yeah, we were in the 5K radius. That's why I couldn't get rid of you.
That's why you couldn't get rid of me. And I would text you every morning, park?
Yeah.
Or you'd text me, park? We'd just say park.
Yeah, just with a little question mark.
And there we'd be at Alma Park, meeting up and throwing a ball for Joni and just walking around. I had little Bev at the time.
Yes.
And I think that's all I had. I only had Bev and Sis then.
Yeah.
But, we just talked and walked with masks on the whole...
Yeah.
And it was our normal.
Yeah.
Remember when I touched Joni's head with a little bit of bleach?
Yeah, I haven't forgiven you.
Rach, let me tell you, I've bleached Elle's hair, who is Kirsty's partner, and I was like, let's just do a little bit of Joni's hair. This one.
Yeah, I haven't gotten over it.
She's still not gotten over it.
I bring it. She put bleach in an innocent puppy's hair. That
not
is
in
cooked.
It. I just touched it.
That is cooked. She put it in the fridge.
It wasn't cooked.
I can't believe you'd bring it up on your podcast.
It would have been cooked more if we'd left it in, because that's what it does. It cooks. Like bleach.
Why would you bring it up on your podcast, Yvie? Because the second that this is released, I'm going to go into the comments section and write at Crime Stoppers, at RSPCA.
I'm Peter.
At Peter.
Yeah, look, I just so wanted to... She was already blonde. I just wanted... She was more strawberry. She is more strawberry. I just wanted her a bleach blonde like her mother.
You cannot bleach a Pomeranian's fur.
Well, I don't know if we can because we never got the damn chance. You washed it out so quickly.
I
I've never
did.
seen you move so fast.
I was livid, and I still am to this day.
Yeah, I know.
You're all out there going, I love animals, blah, 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 and then you find an innocent Pomeranian puppy and put bleach in her hair.
Well, it wasn't in it. It was just on it a bit.
I cannot
just a bit
wait
of touch.
to find out what your listeners think about this. I cannot wait. I hope this is the point
Of?
cancellation.
Oh, my God, that's huge. Talking of children, you used to be a teacher.
Yes.
How awful would that be? Tell me how bad that was.
I could see your eyes frantically darting around then, like trying to work out what the angle was going to be. How awful.
Oh, that's where I went naturally. Did you like being a teacher?
I like explaining things to people when they are
Dumb.
oh my God.
Well, you have to be dumb to learn something, don't you?
When they are receptive,
Yeah, okay.
is what I was looking for.
Receptacles. All right.
When they're receptive. So I liked that aspect of it. I also really like children.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. I really like children. I like them heaps.
Heaps.
Yeah, heaps.
What do you like about them?
They're funny.
They are funny.
And they're chaotic.
They are.
And I taught kindergarten to begin with. And just to clarify, I taught overseas. I started out teaching English while I was learning Mandarin in Taiwan. And then in my last couple of years, I taught in a senior high school. And I had to do this like local certificate thing to
You
teach
taught
in
what?
the senior high school.
Oh.
Yeah. Is this about my lisp?
I heard Nesenia.
What?
I taught Nesenia High School.
I
I'm
taught
like,
Nesenia.
What's Nesenia?
Yeah. You didn't study Nesenia? You didn't say Nesenia?
You didn't say Nesenia?
No.
You taught senior
In
high
a
school.
senior high school.
Oh,
yes.
in a
senior
high
high
That's
school.
why I heard Ensenia. Ensenia. It's the new band, boy band coming out. It's got to be yo.
How did you make that song worse? I thought it was already at rock bottom.
I can always make everything worse. Everything.
So, anyway, the children. Well, actually, this is interesting. I would like to say this. So I started out teaching kindergarten, teaching in inverted commas. It was mostly daycare, mostly. But, I'd hold up flashcards and I'd teach them like basic English vocabulary. But the really cool thing about teaching really little kids is they'd learn all of the English vocabulary and they'd put it into Mandarin grammar structure. And that's how I learned Mandarin grammar.
Yeah.
Once I twigged what they were doing, because they'd say things all the wrong way around, but they'd have all the words right and they'd get their meaning across. But, of course, because I was teaching them the language, I had to always correct them. But after a bit, I was like, oh, all they've done is slotted the English words and so I just reverse engineered it.
So it was teaching you.
It was teaching me as well.
That's brilliant.
And it was great. Like, I had this little 4-year-old boy whose mum had just had another baby. And he came to school one day and he marched up to me and he really proudly said to me, "Teacher Kirsty, my home have one baby." And that's always stuck with me. Like I always hear it in my head. Like whenever I'm just like peacefully going about my business during the day, I always hear, "My home have one baby." And just that sentence, like, I remember that's what made the penny drop for me.
Yeah,
that one student saying
switch,
that. I was like,
yeah.
"My home have one baby." Oh my gosh. That's exactly how
structure.
sentence structure works in Mandarin.
Wow.
And then, I used to copy which really helped me learn. Incidentally, Mandarin has dramatically easier grammar than English.
Yes.
The grammar is so easy.
Yes, I've heard that. My friend lives in Beijing now, and she's been teaching Mandarin for a very long time, but she said it's so much more simpler.
So simple.
But every language pretty much is better than English, isn't it? Like
in terms of grammar, for sure. I think, and all the irregularities in English. And so
the spellings.
Yeah. So it was interesting teaching English while studying Mandarin because there were so many things in English that I'd have this textbook and I'd be like, I'm going to teach my high school students this tomorrow. I do not know what any of this means. And I'd have to learn because we wouldn't have learnt it in that way from a textbook, that particular thing, because it's taken for granted that we can already speak the language.
Yeah.
So we're learning different facets of it. And so then they're going to us like, oh, you've got to teach the students like all about like past participles and I mean, that's one of the easy ones. It was like they'd say these things that I can't even say to you now because I can't remember what it is because it didn't stick for me. Like it was so complicated. And so we'd have to learn it in order to teach it to the students. And I just tell my students that sometimes when they ask me a question, I'd be like, I don't know, mate. I'd be like, I've got no idea because I grew up speaking English. We didn't have to learn that. And then I'd be like, I will look into it
I'm gonna
and
find out.
I would tell you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like I'd go full Dr. Carl on them.
Yeah.
You know how Dr. Carl does that?
Just listening to him on the way.
I love him so much. But you know how he's like, I don't know. I'll look into it.
That's the best about scientists. And that's what's so great about science is they're like, I don't know. And I still won't know 100%, but I'm going to look into it. I'm going to do all my research.
Yeah, I love that.
So good.
Yeah, because pretty much everyone else in society can't accept just being like, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, well, all right, well, yeah.
No, that's a definite something.
Yeah,
Well,
I saw this a few years back, actually. I've seen a case of this and and you know that they're just like buying time to come up with something.
To come up with something.
Something to say with conviction.
Yeah.
So that you eat it up.
Yeah, and that's a funny thing, during the pandemic when all of the divide happened and everything, with the scientists, they just couldn't be definitively accurate with their tellings because they were like, well, everything changes. Science is constantly being proved and, this. So, yeah, pretty much 99. And they'd always go, oh, there's that 1% then. There's that 1%.
Yeah.
And they needed, and there was those bunch of people who really did use that umbrella of misinformation and they got it out. There's apparently went all the way back to 12 people and they were the ones that were really making sure it got out and they were definitive. They were using language that was understandable and confident and and wasn't science speak. So people were like, I get that. That makes sense to me. It must be true.
Said with enough conviction.
I will believe shit like that until someone comes along, and I'm very lucky to know educated people or work with educated people who go, yeah.
She's talking about me.
I don't work with you.
Very learned Webeck. Well, you're unfortunate to not be working with me because
I am.
You would learn a thing or two.
Well, work. you. That's very true, and I am. I've just learned something about you that I didn't know.
What's that?
I can't remember, but no, the stuff about you teaching Mandarin and how I just think that's
English.
Teaching English and having to learn Mandarin for yourself. There is so much in that when you go and teach English to adults in overseas schools, because they're so young, they're still learning their own language.
Yes.
We've got adults who are really set in their own language and we're trying to teach them things that we haven't understood that they learnt when they were kids. So I think that bringing that child, not philosophy, what word am I looking for? Like that child protocol of teaching someone like they're a child English and teaching us like we're a child of Mandarin.
Yeah. Well, what you just said about being really set in your own language that's exactly it. That's the thing that makes it difficult as an adult to learn a language. So some of my friends just could not learn Mandarin while we were over there. Right. And they'd never learnt languages as a child or whatever, so they'd never worked out how their brain needs to process another language.
Yeah.
But the other thing, and, I tried to explain this to some of my mates and then I was like, some people just can't do it, especially if they don't have that foundation of having learnt something in school or whatever, where I was like, you have got to let go of English as a reference point.
Yes.
You've got to let go. You've just got to let go of the language and be like, oh, that's what it is in Mandarin. Okay, cool. No problem.
Yeah.
Just take it at face
accept
value.
it.
Stop comparing. Stop
trying to make sense of it in your own way.
Yeah. Stop directly translating.
Yes.
Because a lot of it just doesn't.
Well, that's just brain waste, isn't it? Thought waste.
Yeah, but it's so hard not to do because it's hard. Your language is hardwired into you, and that is your point of reference for everything that you understand in the world. Everything that you see is run through the filter of the language that you have available to express what you've experienced or seen.
Yeah,
and you're throwing that in the bin to learn a whole new set of parameters through which to view the world or to express what you're viewing.
That's why children learn so easily.
Yes.
Well, share for that.
All right. I mean, you're halfway there.
Halfway.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm not even going to say what it is Mandarin for because that would just be bringing in my own language. And I don't do that anymore.
You've let go of all points of reference.
I've let go of all of it. I'm just a jellyfish of brain now.
You've stopped framing the world through the linguistic constraints of English.
No structure.
I respect that.
Thank you.
You've thrown out all convention, all structure. You're a maverick. You're a linguistic maverick.
You said it. I may repeat it, but you said it. A stand-up comedian. Why? Just because you're funny?
I'm very talented.
You said it.
I woke up one day and I was like, Kirsty, you've got a gift and it's a crime that you are not sharing it with.
That's true though. But that is true.
Yvie,
do people tell you, you got to do this?
Yeah.
As often as they do to so many comedians that end up doing it because the amount of people that say, this is a waste, you just being at work entertaining us.
Yes, people did my whole life, but I started late in stand-up comedy terms. I started at 30.
You're 84.
67, thank you.
Sorry.
I knew that I loved making people laugh, but I also always knew that being a stand-up comedian was very different to being funny at the pub with your mates, which is the difference between me and most male comedians.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. Not most male comedians, not at all. It's always men that come up to me after a show, though, and go, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, oh, God,
I'm so funny.
Oh, God, yes.
Or they'll be like, Robbo, he's so funny. He can do what you do. Yeah. Where I was always acutely aware that it was a skill.
Yes.
And I remember one of the first professional comedians that I became friends with early on in my career, I remember her saying to me, it's an apprenticeship. And she was like, it's a lifelong apprenticeship.
Yes.
You will learn things every time you get on stage. You will learn things every time you watch your friends on stage.
Yes.
You'll learn things every time you sit down to write, and you will get better and better and better all the time. And no matter how good you get, you will always continue to have bombs.
Wow.
Which is so true. And it's also something that I love about it is the fact that you can know a certain joke inside out.
Yeah.
And you could have performed it hundreds of times in the last 2 years, crushed with it every time. And for some reason you can get up on stage tonight in front of 200 people and not one of them will laugh.
Why? Have you figured out how that happens and why?
Yeah, there's so many variables. Like there's a huge number of variables that people don't realise. And so a lot of it's environmental. Like something that we talk about, a lot of us do a lot of corporate comedy. So, I do like big award ceremonies and like conferences and stuff like that.
That's where the money is for stand-up, isn't it? Like,
I mean, that and touring.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, corporate, not every comedian can do corporate. So
no, that's right.
It's a niche.
Yeah.
They can be quite lucrative, but there's also a lot of variables that are corporate. Like sometimes the booker is a huge fan of yours and then you rock up and it's 500 lawyers and 90% of them are men.
Yeah.
They're all over 50.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily your demographic. They're at work. they're at a work function.
Yes.
They're not loose like at the comedy
Yes.
club in the city on a Friday night when everyone's with their mates smashing
Yes.
beers.
And yeah.
You get up on stage and you bring out your old gold and you're like, I'll win them over in the first 5 minutes, and then you just watch all the wait staff come spilling into the hall with plates on their arms, and you're like, great. I've lost them immediately. Dinner's served.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's like all the plates are making noise, and then everyone's chatting and they're swapping meals, and then you're just background noise for half an hour.
Yeah, it's the worst. That would be the worst.
Yeah, there's loads of things. I mean, something else that happens at a range of different gigs that we do is it might be a fundraiser, and somebody might get up and do a keynote speech, and it could be really sad. This happens to me all the time. It's great for the group chat, but somebody will deliver an incredibly sad speech, and then they'll be like, everyone will be crying.
And you've got
Everyone will be crying, and then they'll be like, well, sorry to bring the mood down, everyone, but don't worry because we've got someone waiting to come out that's going to turn this around.
mean.
But it's not intended to be mean.
No, but it is.
It's just
it just is.
Yeah, they just don't understand
No.
that it's very hard to come back from a
Yeah.
sobbing audience to
Yes.
bring them on board, and then but also to change the pace so dramatically. Like,
Yeah.
you've gone from this incredibly sad speech about a really heart-wrenching topic to me complaining about Port Hedland for 10 minutes. Like,
Imagine if it was about the sad topic and you made it funny and they were like, oh,
whoa,
what?
yeah. Not for me, I don't think.
So when you were growing up, who were your comedic icons?
Well, none in stand-up terms. Like, I'd never watched any stand-up.
Really?
Yeah,
They didn't have that in the ACT?
No, stand-up was banned in Canberra.
That's true.
It still
That's
is
true.
to this
Yeah,
day.
that's true.
I'm very nervous about my Canberra Comedy Festival shows coming up because, I'm going to have to get past Border Patrol to be able to.
Yes. But you do wear all fatigues? They won't know. They won't.
Well, that's what I normally do. I normally
Yeah,
get down
they
low
won't
in
see
the
you.
bushes,
Yes.
like on the Queanbeyan
Yes.
Canberra border, and I'll just army roll myself
it.
through.
Yeah.
And I'll crawl my way up
Yeah.
and just straight up there to the Canberra Theatre Centre.
Go
And
commando in the fatigues as
yeah,
well.
yeah. I'll roll myself up the front steps of the Canberra Theatre Centre, which is what I've done for the last 3 years, and it's been fine.
No one's seen you, but
They've
they've
not-
heard how funny.
They've heard.
All you hear is your voice and a lot of laughter.
So
So no, you didn't have you weren't into stand up as
not
a kid.
stand up, no, but like
comedy
lots of
then.
comedy
Yeah.
movies.
Okay.
So like like anything that Martin Short or Steve Martin did when I was growing up would
thank God.
like Steve Martin for me when I was growing up, like. Even if I didn't understand what he was saying because I was too young, like
Yes.
just his physicality and his
Yes.
delivery, I always could just feel it in my bones that it
Yes.
was funny.
Yes.
And like Leslie Nielsen, I loved Eddie Murphy. Again, like, this is all comedy movies and things, but
Yeah.
I was a massive fan of any kind of, and like Richard Pryor, like loved Richard Pryor.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and Gene Wilder. Like
Yeah,
they did
Gene
some
Wilder.
amazing stuff together.
Absolutely.
God, you just described my parents' comedy loves.
Yeah,
Like,
well, that's what it was. It was
They
my
were your
parents'
parents.
comedy loves because
we grew up in a
when
very similar house because I used to watch them watching it, and I wouldn't always get what the jokes were, but I would love how much it made my parents laugh, and it really, I guess, molded my humour
Yeah.
too, because you have to start to understand what they're
Yes.
laughing at. And
John Candy.
yeah, Steve Martin for my parents was number one.
Yeah, I
and
think
John
so too.
Candy and Martin Short, like just all
yeah.
of those, and Gene Wilder, like
Yeah.
a big one in our house was just that, and Madeline Kahn and all of that,
Yes.
Mel Brooks kind of stuff.
Yes,
like
Mel
just-
Brooks, Blazing
my
Saddles.
Yes, still one of the funniest things in the world. Still one of the funniest men in the world, Mel Brooks.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
so let's get serious.
yeah.
Today is a sad day for you today.
Yeah.
It's an anniversary. I can't believe we're talking about Carl Wilson. Carl was your best friend. Mm-hmm. Today, 3 months. Has that gone fast for you, or does that feel longer than 3 months?
Long, I think.
Yeah, because for me, when you did a post today that said 3 months today, and I was like, there's been so much in it in between since her passing. It feels longer.
Yeah.
But I almost felt like I was going to write that, and I thought, is that rude? Like, I don't think there is such a thing as being rude about putting a time like, oh, it feels like ages. But it just feels like so long ago that we saw, that you saw her.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
it does.
It's just 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really strange. Time has been very odd. Like the whole back end of last year, I think. Yeah, it's wild. Like, yeah, 3 months is nothing, but it's a hard time. Not that there's ever a good time to lose someone that you love, but like that back end of the year where it's, getting close to like celebration season and, everyone's planning their holidays over the summer break and everything. Like it's a really weird time to, be going through all of that as well.
Yeah. Well, the last conversation that you and I had that was long was just before Christmas, and and we were like, what are we doing for Christmas? And you were saying how, the year had not been great for you for obvious reasons, but how you had to keep working. And as a comedian, that's not the kind of job that you can just go back really easily to, but you need to. So you were saying to me that Christmas was going to be a release finally. You were going to allow yourself to kind of, do the fall down that you needed to do and couldn't. Did you get that done, or did you?
No.
I didn't think you would.
It was a lovely idea.
Life gets in the way, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And it was Elle's family's year for Christmas, so we had the in-laws over, and we went away for 8 nights or something. But that hectic family time kind of thing. It was like, yeah, I don't know, and it's hard because we're coming up to our national tours starting again.
Yeah.
And so, like, for me, I'm really far behind. Like, I'm behind on my show. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll be absolutely fine. Like, I've been further behind than this when I was starting out.
Yeah.
And, I've got all the ideas there and I've got the shell of the show, and basically I've got to put the jokes in, which is the easiest bit for me these days.
Right.
But I've got to do it, and I've got to get the stage time, and I've got to start working on the bits. But, I just started working on my show when Cal got sick.
Right.
And then, so that whole part of the year where I'd normally be working on my show, of course I didn't care about my show. I couldn't have cared less. But now I do, and I have to, because it's my career, and I'm about to tour.
Yeah.
Like, I'm about to tour this show.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a damn great show because I've only ever written shows that I'm proud of, and also, I feel this weight attached to my show as well, because most of what I learned about comedy I learned from Cal.
Yeah.
I think I said this at maybe at her memorial, that like when I was starting out as a comedian, like Cal was one of my first friends in comedy, and I'd only been doing comedy for a few years, and she would take notes for me at trial shows and give me jokes, or tell me, like, you could chop that bit down, but this bit is so funny and you're not giving it enough credit. You can stretch your legs on that bit. And we'd go somewhere and we'd have dinner or a drink or whatever, and we'd go over these notes for a couple of hours. And from very early on, she would always ask me to take notes for her as well.
Wow.
And and she'd listen to them and she'd take jokes from me. She didn't care that I'd been doing comedy for a few years. She thought I was very funny.
She'd been doing it for decades.
Yeah. She had no pride attached to it. She thought I was funny and she liked my jokes and she liked my input and she liked helping me with my jokes and she liked going over her jokes with me.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think I wrote in my post today that, you know, I'm sitting down and I'm working on this show and I want it to be so great because it's a show for her and I. And, like, I can hear her while I'm writing.
Yeah.
I can hear her. Like, you know, I'll look over something and one of the things that, like, sometimes whole ideas are too big for me and I need somebody just to tell me a really simple sentence just to make the penny drop for me.
Yep.
And many years ago, Cal just really simply said to me, just get to the joke faster. And what she meant was just to, you know, to shave all of the excess words and whatever and just to get to what's the funny bit in it, get to that.
Yeah.
That's the bit you want them laughing, get to that. Get rid of that sentence, get to the joke faster. And I'm going over the bits that I have written of my show so far and I keep hearing her in her voice just going, get to the joke faster.
Yeah.
And all those little, you know, little sentences that she said for me. So,
and you also wrote in that she would say, we say to each other, why is that funny? And you even put a little disclaimer on it because when you read things, you can get tone or wrong. But as soon as I read it, I knew exactly the way, you know, you would say that, why is that funny? Like,
flesh it out. Why is that funny?
Yeah.
And then we'd be like, it's funny because it sounds like I'm saying this. And then, and then she'd be like, yeah, exactly. So let's put another sentence on there. Let's put another joke because it's really funny for that reason. So let's put another joke after it. And, you know, getting that thinking going of like, you've written that because you think people will laugh at it in the audience. Why?
Yes.
Why do you think they'll laugh? What's funny about it? And what more can we drag out of it? So, you're right. Like I think it's been really hard for a lot of us because, Cal was a stalwart of the Australian comedy scene and, you know, she had a lot of friends, and, you know, she had a little posse of very close friends as well. And, you know, just a lot of us are comedians and a lot of us have had to just get back on stage.
Yeah. I honestly don't know how any of you have done it.
No, I mean, you mentioned...
That makes you professional because...
Yeah. And also, you know, I think it's a really good example of the fact that it's genuinely a career. Like it's a job and it's the only job that I have. Yeah. And the week Cal passed away, I came back from Sydney a couple of days after and the following night I had a corporate and it was a corporate that I've done before. It was an award ceremony I've hosted before. I dearly love the CEO of this organisation and all of their staff, and I love what they do. And I was, you know, thrilled to be going back, but obviously didn't realise that this was all going to happen. And I had to do it because I've got a mortgage. Yeah. Like I had to do this corporate. But you mentioned Nellie earlier on, who'd organised the lunch that you and I met at. And Nellie, who is also a very dear friend of Cal's, Nellie got me to send her the run sheet of the night. She got dressed up as if she was doing the show and she came with me and she was like, if at any point you cannot go on, I will finish the show for you. And I spoke to my mates at the organisation and they were like, no worries at all. She's got a seat at the table with us. Bring her along, no stress. And she came along and she sat there the whole night for the entire gig. And she was like, if you cannot at any point do it, she was like, of course the paycheck is yours, but I will finish the show for you.
What a kind thing to do.
It was – I finished the show.
Who would do that though as well?
I think a lot of us. I think a lot of us are, and I think that's something probably beautiful that has one of the few beautiful things that has come out of all of this is seeing that
the community
love and the community and And Nellie had her own pain.
Yeah. Yes.
Like she was a dear friend of Nellie's as well, but Nellie was like, you've been up in Sydney for the last month, you've really carried a lot of the load and whatever, and I understand. I'm like, I don't know that anyone's carried more of a load than anyone else, but I appreciate the support sort of thing. And it was a really truly beautiful thing to do.
And how was that gig? Did you get through it?
I did. I got through it. I think it was, do you know what? It was the best gig I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah. I really felt like Dr. Showbiz kick in.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I got up on stage, I felt really loosey-goosey. I know this sounds so silly, but I just felt everything Cal had ever told me about comedy, like just go pouring into my head before I walked on stage. And even though I knew that I wanted to get through the show and that I didn't want to put that burden on Nellie to get up and finish it for me, the mental load it took off me having her there and knowing it was an option, even though I knew it wasn't an option I would probably dip into, just was so freeing.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I didn't feel like I was trapped in any way.
Yeah, and you felt there was a net.
Yeah, and my mate afterwards, whose event it is, she was like, I can't believe you did it at all, but then got through it, but then absolutely smashed it out of the park, and it was way funnier and way better than last year, even though we loved it then to have you back.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, when I reflected on it weeks later, because all of that time was just such a blur, I was like, man, I just really felt Cal with me.
Well, she was.
Yeah.
She was, and she still is. You writing the show and still feeling her.
Yeah.
She's there. She's, going to get you through all of your shows still.
Yeah.
And that's the amazing thing about energy is that they may be gone in a physical way, but they were always, I know when I need my mum, the signs come, the thoughts come, or the advice comes. She finds a way to get it to me. Yeah. When I say I need you now, I'll be there pretty soon. She's probably whipping around from all the other people that need her in my family, but and Cal, I think has such an incredibly massive energy that she's broken it up a little bit as well, because there'd be, especially in that really small and very close group that you had with her. In the last couple of years, just so incredibly close. They'd be feeling the same way in their shows, wouldn't they?
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about, because we're finished. That sounded very fun.
All right, off I go. See ya. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being so honest and vulnerable. Not honest. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable.
I was about to say I lied the whole time, so
But let's just talk
thanks for having me.
Really quickly about the show. What's it called? When is it out? And how can people get tickets to it?
Okay, so it's called I'll Be the Judge of That.
Oh, that's very good.
Thank you. I came up with it myself. It's very silly. It's very lighthearted. It's a lot of fun. I'm known for not punching down, for being very inclusive, and for never going after the audience. So
yeah.
So
I can contest to that. I've been to 2 of your shows, which is the only shows that I've seen since I've known you.
Yeah.
The only shows that you've had, and they've both been just very. Cal was like that as well. Kind, funny.
Yeah.
Really, never punching down.
Yeah,
and never. And I really appreciate that kind of humour, because I think when you're punching down, it's lazy and it's really easy comedy that's been around forever. And I love smart comedians. Cal was one of them. You're one of them as well.
So smart.
That just, you find the funny, even if it takes you a lot longer to write it, because you can't punch down on someone.
Wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
And we used to talk about that a lot. Like, we just want everyone in the room to be having a nice time.
Yeah. And you don't pick on the audience.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of people's massive fears about going to stand up.
So
they
many
don't
people.
Go, or they don't want to sit in the front row.
Yeah.
Because they know they might be. And if they are odd looking in any way, they're going to be picked on.
Yeah, or if they're self-conscious about something.
Isn't it? That's so accepted.
Yeah. It is, because so many people contact me and and that's what they'll say. They'll be like, like people always love that I don't swear very much. And they'll always go, and a lot of people that come out to my shows are in a sort of older demographic now because word's gotten out that I don't swear too much.
Oh, that's good.
And I barely swear at all. I mean, you know that I do in my everyday life, but on stage, like I just never have. And so, yeah, people are always like that and no punching down and also the
no picking on the audience.
They're not nervous. They're not anxious to come to my shows, which I really love. And I really try and push that out there.
Yeah, good.
I try and tell people because the number of people that go to me, I don't go to stand-up comedy. I'm terrified of being. So I'm like,
there's a lot of them.
I won't do it to you.
A lot of them.
There are. And I'm like, I won't.
Yeah.
If you yell out at me, absolutely. But if you don't, like, I'm not going to, I might ask the whole group something.
Yes.
But yeah, totally. So the shows, it's my biggest tour ever as well.
Great. Well, it should get better every year.
Yeah, but I mean, I've added on I think I've added 7 extra cities onto what I usually do.
Great. Well, you're managing yourself now, so you can do that kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I'm doing Canberra, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Cairns, Warrnambool, Hobart, Launceston, Auckland. I'm doing 3.5 weeks over in Auckland.
Oh, that's excellent.
As well. I'm about to also announce Newcastle and I'm going to get up to Brunswick Heads as well.
Well, you just did announce that. That's our you've got that for well,
you've got the scoop.
We've got the scoop, but it won't come out because you're about to announce it on your social. So we had the scoop. Sorry about that. But if you're, is there any more? Like, if you're in any of those places and you'd like to see a very funny, kind comedian, please go to.
Yep. So all my socials, so at Kirsty Webeck, and then my website, kirstywebeck.com.
Who has a website, honestly? What a dag.
All comedians do.
Oh, okay.
Every comedian does.
Well, so they should.
What are you talking about? Every musician does as well.
Oh, well, I'm not either. So I don't.
What a dag. Oh, my God, Kirsty's such a dag. She wants people to find her and book tickets to her shows. What a dag.
I've always been told in my part of the industry, that the other side of the industry, that you don't do websites, you just direct them to your socials because everything can be done there and it's free.
No, we all have websites.
Well, you're all a bunch of dads. I'm sorry.
So I've got
Gamma.
I've got a
oh my God, you have your own website. Rachel just showed us her website.
So there's 3 people in this room currently and 2 have a website and 1 doesn't. Who do you think's in the wrong?
Look, I've got to say I do have a website.
Do you really?
Yeah, Yvie Jones.
Oh my God.
.com.
Why are you lying to us? Who are you, my vet friend?
It's only the domain. I am your vet friend.
My
I'm your
lying,
vet.
cheating vet doctor friend.
I do, but it's just a domain now. I just pay for the name. Like,
so that makes you a way bigger dag that you're paying for something you don't use.
Absolutely. Google me.
Yvie, what's your...
Oh, maybe it's gone.
Yvie, what's your website dedicated to? Just how to bleach innocent animals' hair?
No,
is it just pin them down and just put some chemicals into their faces? Is that what your website's about, is it?
It is. It's just that. It's you yelling at me.
Yeah, it would be.
That's all it is.
Yeah, it'd be me and it'd be also an image of the front of your house with PETA protesters all around.
And blood thrown on my front door. And bleach. Blood and bleach.
And bleach. It'll be bleach. It won't be blood, it'll be bleach.
Well, I'm gonna. There's no Yvie Jones at.
What a dag! You're the only person I know without a website. What a loser!
Do you know what? I'm a winner because I'm the only one with it.
Okay, mate. Okay.
I just always thought it was very weird. EvieJones.com. I was like, God, like who am I? Who am I that I think I can have a website?
It's almost like I want people to be able to find information about me quite easily to advance my career in some way. What a dag. Yeah, I'm going to go and rip my website down because what's happened recently is heaps of people have been going to my website to book tickets to my tour and I'm worried that my tour is going to be successful, so I'm going to pull my website down.
What's your website? KirstyWebeck.com.
Correct.
That's it?
That's it.
And you can find, if you just Google Kirsty Webeck, and it's with a Y, not an IE, Kirsty, you can just find her. Just click on the first thing that comes up. See what comes up. Book the tickets. Book them. Go and see her show. She's going to talk only about me in her show.
Yeah, I need you to book tickets to my show and support me so that I can buy a bleach removal kit for my puppy's fur.
And a bucket of blood. That's right. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you more.
Okay.
I mean, if you've liked this episode, you know what to do. Rate, review, subscribe, 5 stars only, or I will bleach your dog's hair. I will. And email me. I don't have a website, so just
get a website, you dog.
And let me know what you think of Kirsty. I won't tell her. Goodbye.